They work with 100 different people.
Can you stop again?
Stepping out of the way and being a mirror for their own experience. So whether they're 5, 15, 55, 105, it's them connecting the dots between what they do and how it makes them feel. So if they're trying to study, it gives them that edge on their academics, or they're just wanting to feel better. A lot of kids are really suffering from different levels of depression and anxiety. So what we say at any age is really experiment. See if you eat this way, you live this way for a week. Notice how you feel. Don't just take our word for it. That is the most powerful driver and sustainable motivator, is connecting our personal dots between what we do and how it makes us feel. And often getting out of the way when it comes to our kids is really the most effective.
Just to build on that, we when our son ate a plant-based diet, I think he was about 15, he said, "Dad, I'm an adolescent, I need to rebel. I'm either meat or start shooting heroin. What would you prefer?" I said, "Meat sounds good." But now he's 18 and he's eating mostly vegetarian. And I was cool for 5 minutes with my son last week. I just have to share this personal moment with you. We went to see one of his favorite, he's a really gifted musician, and he went to see this indie band called Wolfpack, which is a great funk band. And that's right, Ann Arbor. And they played the Greek Theater in Berkeley. And we went backstage afterwards. One of my high claims to fame was I was actually mentioned in a Wolfpack song. So we went backstage and said hello, and he said, "Would you come out in the middle of our concert and say a few words about the plant-based diet and why that was so important?" I said, "You mean today?" He said, "No." So no pressure. So there I am actually doing that. And this was about 12,000 millennials, mostly in their 20s. And the energy that came from them as I was talking about the importance of the plant-based diet was like, I can understand why people like to be rock stars. It's really amazing. But my son was videotaping with his iPhone, and I could hear him say, "That's my dad."
Actually, it was the girl next to him said, "Is that your dad?" He's like, "Yeah, that's my dad."
So for 5 minutes I was cool. It didn't last long, but 5 minutes I was cool.
But I just, something I said to Neal when we arrived is that, we've all been at this work for, 10, 20, 50 years. But to see these millennials, our son, 20s, 30-year-olds, they are so passionate about the movement that what Dean is saying, what's good for you is good for the planet. When Dean said that to the Greek theater, it was just this rousing. I mean, everybody, it was like this, they had just spoken the sermon that spoke most to their life. So what we're all doing is even more powerful with this next generation. We've planted the seeds and it's growing.
Around this room, there are a lot of people who are in practice. It might be small practices, they might be solo practices, but they love what you're doing. They want to get started, but they're all thinking, how do I get started? I don't have a dietitian on staff. I don't have a staff. How do we get started?
Let me just say briefly, we're training hospitals and clinics and physician groups around the country. If you're interested, just go to ornish.com. There's a place there you can send us your name and we'll be in touch. But even if you don't want to go that route, just spend a little more time with people. Touch them, talk to them, ask them how they're doing, all the things we talked about earlier. You want to add to that?
Well, I always say that the Eat Well part of Eat Well, Move More, Stress Less, Love More, 4-pronged lifestyle intervention, is the Eat Well part is the one thing that we have to do every day. So if you were to start with what you eat, and in our book Undo It, there's there's an appendix in the back that actually has commercially available food in any state, in any town, that are available, that fit our nutritional guidelines, that are frozen foods that you can heat up in less than 10 minutes. And there's breakfasts, lunches, dinners, there's snacks. And we don't have any affiliation, any kickbacks with them, but these are the foods that we eat when we get off the road and we don't have time to cook. It's important, it's not essential, to have those grab-and-go healthy options. So if you can have some in your freezer, have some in your refrigerator, have some in your pantry, have some in the bag you take to work when you're in your car, so that it makes it easy to make the healthy choice. I think that and then you start feeling so much better that people want to start improving the rest of their lifestyle.
Great. Now, of the different steps, there's a healthier diet, there's exercise and quitting smoking, and then what we either call stress management or yoga or meditation. Am I right in remembering that the one where people often fall off is with a stress management or a daily practice of yoga or meditation? And if so, how do we handle that? Because I can imagine people saying, look, I really don't have time, I'm not going to deal with this. How do we handle that part?
One thing that we have to do is to eat well, right? So people can so easily make the excuse of, I don't have time for that. Because in our program, people practice for 1 hour consecutively. And that really does get the best results. But because we live in the life, the modern society that we do, that's not always possible. So yes, if you can have the consistency is more important than the duration. So if it's a 15-minute practice in the morning and a 15-minute practice for a little bit of gentle stretching, breathing techniques, meditation, you can do them in 10, 15-minute increments throughout the day. That works more manageably for some people. But really, breath is the most readily accessible and powerful tool we have when it comes to stress management. And we've all had the experience when we get anxious, stressed, we have this shallow, rapid breathing. And if we can just practice, the most powerful stress management tool is our breath awareness. So if we can take those moments when we start to feel stressed, when we get off of our center keel, our sense of equanimity, if we can take the moment to have 3 breaths, and particularly making the out breath a little bit longer than the in breath, we can actually retone our sympathetic nervous system back to a relaxation response, back to an even keel.
Are you saying you do this even when you're just in your day-to-day life, if you're driving on the 101 and
Absolutely.
you
Especially on 101.
You keep your eyes open. Just,
Neal.
okay,
Over this mic.
Oh, and the last thing I would just say that when you have the deeper opportunity to get still, quiet, and tap into, listen to your inner voice. That's something we were all born with. It can come, depending on your belief system, by different names. But in its essence, we have an inner wise voice that's trying really hard to support us in our living our healthiest life. And to the extent that we can take those moments when we're waking up in the morning to listen to that voice, what's most important in going forward into my day, have a sense of intention. And when you are ending your day, to listen to that inner voice, have a sense of gratitude. What did I learn today? That cultivates that voice to feel reinforced, to speak its wisdom to us, to guide us and support us throughout the day, so that when we get going, we can just close our eyes, get still for a split second, and we'll have a moment of clarity that we need desperately in that moment.
Yeah, and all the studies that we've done have come from listening to that voice and then reverse engineering to see how can we see if that's true or not. It's the voice that speaks very clearly but quietly. It wakes you up at 3 in the morning and says, hey, Dean, listen up, pay attention. You're not doing something that's in your best interest. And so I would just encourage you, as Anne was saying, at the end of a meditation or however you quiet your mind down, to ask that voice to appear to you, to identify itself to you. It'll say hello or whatever, and then say, what I always say is, what am I not paying attention to that I need to? And just listen, and it's amazing what you'll hear.
I want to say Benjamin Spock and Mary, one of their favorite quotes is to trust your intuition. You know a lot more than you may believe. Yeah.
Last question before we go. What's ahead? And if you don't mind answering this, are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Just determined? What's ahead for the work that you're doing?
Wildly optimistic. I mean, look at this room. This is incredible. I feel very optimistic given what we've been able to get reimbursed by Medicare, that this is available for the people who need it the most and most other insurance companies. You know, it's definitely transforming reimbursed and practiced medical care and education. Yet what also really excites me is, like I was saying, these millennials, they don't have a life-threatening diagnosis. They might not even have seen their parents begin to suffer from whatever chronic condition they have. They're doing it because, one, they want to participate in a healthier world, and they know that they feel better immediately by eating and living this way. So I think, across the generations, we're seeing that this is a movement that's not a trend. This is a transformative moment for our country.
Thank you both. Again, thank you for honoring again. Congratulations on the winning responsible work. I look forward to working with you and on into the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Neal.